A million times I've asked you, and then I ask you over again. You only answer, perhaps, perhaps, perhaps.
Welcome everybody to this new episode of PhD Café. This time we will do it in English, and we have as a guest Martina. Thank you very much, Martina, for accepting this invitation. And Martina is a PhD student at the University of Basel and is actually studying bioinorganic chemistry. So bioinorganic chemistry looks a little bit strange as a word because it contains biological and inorganic aspects. How these two things can interact between them?
That's actually true that it sounds a little bit weird. Also, when I first came to Basel, I was a trained organic chemist, so I had to learn how to do all the biology and how to work with metals and ligands, because before I was doing organocatalysis, which means no metals at all, and now I'm working with iridium, which is a heavy metal, so that was a bit new for me. What we are trying to do is essentially that we take a protein, which is still not an enzyme because it cannot catalyze any reaction, and we make it catalyze a reaction. That means we force it to be able to lower the activation energy of a reaction process.
For the people which generally follow PhD Café,
Okay.
I want just to remind them that in the first episode we spoke with Egon and transaminases, and he explained as already the principle biocatalysis. So if you have some doubts about it, you can go to rewatch that video. So we can continue with the interview to Martina.
That makes it easier for me, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Egon.
Okay.
So I go on asking you, what is the impact of your research on this aspect in society?
So the project which I'm working on is called artificial metalloenzymes, and this word artificial is really important here. As I said, we take protein which naturally does not catalyze any reaction. We put a metal with a ligand into it. By some interactions inside, it stays within the protein and it can catalyze the reaction. So that means that in nature, a reaction like this wouldn't work with this type of enzyme, with this type of catalyst. So what we are trying to do is something new, what wouldn't happen in nature. And the goal for us, the ultimate goal would be to try to prepare artificial cell.
Wow, that's really that's really a goal, and I'm sure we have a lot of followers which are crazy about science fiction. So if you are speaking about artificial cells, they are going crazy. There was also another motivation why I wanted to do this PhD Café with you, because you might not know if you are not Czech, but
Slovak.
Oh,
Or
sorry.
Czech. No, that's
I'm sorry.
okay.
But Martina is a journalist, scientific journalist in Slovak, right?
In Slovakia.
In Slovakia, and she's communicating science in Slovak. So, as you know, PhD Café, sometimes we do it in English, sometimes in French, sometimes in Italian, depending with the people we speak with. Now, Martina doesn't speak Italian, I don't speak Slovak, so of course we need to use English. But as we said many times, for us it's really important to communicate science in our original language, because if we lose the scientific language, we lose a lot in society. So what are you exactly doing in your activity as a journalist in Slovak?
I write popular science articles about interesting things which are happening right now.
Yeah.
So I always go through the newest Nature or Science or science articles, or even some other journals. And if I find something interesting which would be also interesting for general public, I work on it. That means that I've broadened my scope from biochemistry, biology and chemistry to sometimes even physics, particle physics sometimes, yes, or space or medicine. And I do it mainly because people nowadays would believe anything which they read online, and that is a big problem, especially if people believe into, well, the existence of chemtrails, or that vaccination can poison you, or
you are touching a really
yes, that's my main goal actually. Sometimes I even pick a theme like this, I try to work on this, and I try to teach people that they really need to look for scientific evidence. If they read something online, they need to see a peer-reviewed paper behind it.
That you really said great things. The problem that sometimes I face, for example, doing that, or I'm sure you face when you are doing this in your language, is that we miss sometimes the language. As a scientist, we are used to speak English between us, and that's a necessity, and it's also a great opportunity. But in the moment in which our society loses the scientific language, then how to explain to people and to the politics, which depends also on people, how to do the right choices.
You touched a nice thing right now. I just published an article about the language which was used to write a UN report on the climate change.
Yeah.
So some scientists took these reports and did a linguistic analysis on it.
Uh-huh.
They wanted to see how easy it is to understand the language which was being used. So they checked the length of the sentences and how complicated were the words which were used. And the outcome was really interesting, actually. It was less understandable and readable compared to Einstein's papers.
Oh, God.
So you can see that it's really happening right now, and I think that people should get educated if they write some things like this.
When you do your articles, that's really a curiosity. Do you tend to simplify things in your language, or you try to get the same meaning, or of peer-reviewed article which could appear in Nature or Science or other things?
It depends on the case. If it's particle physics, I have to simplify it, really.
Yeah.
Well, partly also because I wouldn't understand it by myself. But
actually,
sometimes I try to avoid oversimplifying things, and I call it a gray box.
Okay.
It's really a gray box within the article where I explain all the terminology I'm using in that current article. So if people don't understand it, they go there, then they go back.
I should use the gray box also on the YouTube video. I think
it
could be a really nice idea. And during this activity, this journal, which is online, or
it's both online and printed.
Okay.
It's a daily type of newspaper.
Do you have feedbacks from people who reads the?
Yes.
Yes.
Sometimes I do a mistake, of course, then it's terrible. They write that I should give my PhD baggie, and even though I still haven't got it, but it's funny. But as far as I know, people like it, and if I touch an interesting topic like why do people masturbate, then it's then it's really read a lot.
Yeah, for sure you have a lot of feedbacks.
Yes.
But there are people, you mentioned before, the amounts of scientific bullshit that are on internet. Sometimes it's pretty difficult to really have a discussion with people which strongly believe in dogmas, sometimes also wrong pseudo-scientific dogmas.
I think the only way how to fight with this is to have almost the same amount of real and good quality articles online as the bullshitty ones. I mean, some people do not understand that anyone can make a web page online. It's not controlled in any way. Exactly. If I would decide to make a web page saying that aliens are walking among us and I'm one of them, some people would maybe believe this, and this is really sad. Yeah.
Also because we remember that doesn't exist online a peer-reviewed system to check all the things that have been said. Also, the things that we said today are not peer-reviewed, but the important things also on the YouTube videos that you can watch is when there are actually reference under the video where you can check if the things we said comes from articles that are peer-reviewed. So I think I will put some reference about
our research, artificial metalloenzymes.
Artificial metalloenzymes, so that you can really see what is it about. You can investigate by yourself if you are not convinced. But I mean, I think that Martina was quite clear.
And you can come and join our group if you want to try.
Yeah. If you're a student, you could. So you heard what said Martina, and Martina, you have something to say to the people which are following us
Yeah, of course.
about it? Go.
Please do not believe everything that you read online. Try to check for the references, that means for the sources of the information by yourself. It just takes a couple of minutes.
Yes.
It should be a scientific article,
Yeah, a peer-reviewed.
peer-reviewed
Yeah.
scientific article.
I ask you a last thing that generally shock the people which I do PhD cafe. But for you should not be a problem as you do this already.
Okay.
Could you try to explain? You have just 1 or 2 minutes maximum to explain in your language.
My native
yes,
language.
your native
Okay.
language. The purpose of your research.
Oh, yeah,
What
sure.
is the goal? So
Okay.
you have really a
1
short
minute.
1 minute. Go.
I have to think about it first, right? Yes.
The problem is always to change the language.
Yes,
you know,
yes,
between-
yes.
I know.
Click and I have to speak Slovak, right?
I know this problem.
Dobre. Hlavná úloha môjho výskumu je to, že sa snažíme pripraviť tzv. Umelé metaloenzymy. To znamená, že vezmeme bielkovinu, ktorá je zložená z aminokyselín, ktoré sú v priestore nejako usporiadané. To znamená, že sa môže stať, že majú v sebe nejakú medzeru, ktorú my môžeme využiť a vložiť do nej nejaký ligand, ktorý je viazaný na nejaký atom kovu. Tento atom kovu je schopný katalyzovať reakciu a v normálnom prípade, keďže tá bielkovina ten kov v sebe nemá, by táto reakcia nemohla prebiehať. Ale tým, že my tam tento kov vložíme, spôsobíme to, že vytvoríme umelý enzym, ktorý dokáže katalyzovať chemickú reakciu, to znamená, že umožní jej priebeh, ktorá by vlastne inak normálne nefungovala. Pracujeme s proteínom, ktorý sa volá streptavidín a vkladáme do neho iridiový katalizátor. A reakcia, ktorú katalizujeme, je transfer hydrogenácia cyklických imínov. To nemusíte vedieť, čo znamená, ale ak chcete, stačí mi napísať mail.
Okay. If you didn't get anything like me or what Martina said, you can write directly to her.
That's what I said,
Oh,
yes.
I understand Slovak. That's great.
Good.
So, and most important things, if you are a young scientist and you want to speak about science in your language, please do it, and you can use the hashtag PhD Cafe so that other people can hear what you are doing in your own language. So, we thanks again Martina for.
Thank you.
She was really nice, and she's doing a great job in article. Actually, if you are Slovak, you can go to
Czech people would also
Czech
understand.
people would understand.
Yes,
Perfect.
yes.
Czech or Slovak, you can check her articles. We will put the link here in the description. So to the next PhD Cafe. For now, it's everything. Bye bye.
Bye.
Perhaps